Hey everyone. So a lot of good stuff from this week with the videos and the article. In the first video, we see the gentleman do TED Talk on feminism. This is a video that I've watched multiple times. I think I take a lot away from it every time I hear it. For me, as a woman who identifies as a feminist, it was really great hearing this man talk about feminism and how much it means to him and how much it should mean to everyone else, whether they're a female or a male. I think for my biggest takeaway from the first video was when he talks about his overhearing of this conversation between these two women. And he comes to this realization that he just identifies as a person. I think for me that really hit home because much like the woman who was white that he was overhearing this conversation from, I looked in the mirror and just identified as a woman as well. I think now if anyone asks me what I identify as when I get up and look in the morning, what do I see? I could rattle off a long list of things that I identify as and that I see when I look at myself. So I think that has really changed my perspective on privilege and stuff like that. For the next video with Billie Jean King, I thought that was awesome. I thought it was really interesting how she talked about how they had unequal pay and how they were fighting for equal pay. They had $1 a day contract or $1 contract and getting paid $14 a day. I thought that was a little crazy. And I think that fighting for equal pay is something we're still doing. If anyone follows soccer, a few years ago there was this whole equal pay movement where the women's soccer teams in FIFA were, fighting for equal pay similar to the men because the women who were winning the FIFA World Cup were getting paid equal or less than the men who were getting in almost third place in the men's FIFA World Cup, which is a little crazy. So yeah, we have some ways to go, but I know in places like Australia, now the women's and men's soccer teams both have equal pay, which is awesome. I really also like how she talked about just listening to people, whether it's people of different generations, of different genders, different sexual orientations. Just listen to people. I feel like that's the best way that you could understand people and learn. And I know from my perspective, I've made friends who identify as different genders and different sexual orientations, friends of different races, with different views, and I think that's the way I've learned so much about other perspectives by listening and talking. So that was a really big takeaway from her video for me. And lastly, the article I think was the biggest thing that kind of shook me up from this week's videos and article. I am a woman who mostly coaches girls, and I am a firm believer that females should be coaching young girls. When I'm a coach, I'm not just coaching a sport. They come to me for their relationship advice and what's happening at home, and they have questions about their bodies and, how to respect their bodies. And this is conversations that I'm having with these young girls that are so important to have. And I feel that if a male was in this coaching position, they might not be able to fulfill that kind of being that kind of role model for these young girls or teaching these young girls these things. On the other hand, I have tried to coach young boys before, and I have not received the same respect as I get from the girls, which has kind of pushed me away from the whole idea. But I think after reading that article, if I was approached now with a coaching position for a boys team, I would take it a lot differently, because as they questioned, how would these boys be if they had more female role models? And I feel like if I had that opportunity, I could be that person.